Hi everybody, it's Richard here again and welcome to my response to the thread that's going around, started by Chris Propfe, to name 3 cover versions that are better than the originals. I'll link Chris's channel below. Now I did a similar video to this last year where I named 3 but I won't include those songs. So rather than do 3, I thought I would do 10. Now I don't have physical copies of all of these songs, so I'll just have to name some of them. But we'll start off, I'll show physical copies where I can, vinyl especially. I'll show the original first and then what I think is the better cover version, or the better version. This is Bob Dylan's New Morning, and on here is the song If Not For You. Now I wonder which one I think is better, and yes, I do think George Harrison's version is better, but that's not the one I'm going to pick, because I think the best cover version of that is by Olivia NewtonJohn from her debut album. I think that song really suits her voice. Sorry. Yes, this is actually more a cover version of the George Harrison version, because she more or less copies the George Harrison version rather than the Bob Dylan, but since Bob Dylan was the original song, I'm going to have to show that. I do love the George Harrison version as well, but this one for me is a standout. I absolutely adore it, and this is a really good album. It is got a touch of country in it, but it's wonderful. Next one up, and this is the Kinks, and one of the singles from this is a double album of singles and B-sides, and one of the songs on this is Days, which I really do like, but I have to admit I think Kristen McCall's version is better. Released from her Kite album, I think this was in 1989. I also love the Ray Davies version that he did with the choir of Days from his, I can't remember the name of the CD, but it's where he took a lot of Kinks songs and he put a choir behind them, and he really did rearrange that song Days, and it's perfect as well. But I'm going to give it to Kristen McCall because it's a very, very strong version. Next up, on one of my favourite artists, and this is Hammond. This album was released in 1972, and on this is a track called The Air That I Breathe, and it's a really good song, and it's obviously it's the original version and it is excellent, but I have to admit, and you know what's coming up here, the definitive version of that song is by the Hollies. Now even when Albert Hammond plays that song live now, he actually goes with this version, he rearranges it to this version, and on his last album, A Symphony, it's rearranged just like the Hollies version. So yeah, I think he accepts that the Hollies version is the definitive version. So that's the Hollies and The Air That I Breathe. Okay, I'll show 2 now where I don't have the originals. The first one is a song called Please Mr. Postman. It's by the Marvelettes, and it is absolutely brilliant. I love it, but I do prefer this version, and no, I'm sorry folks, it's not the Beatles. I prefer the Marvelettes version to the Beatles. The Carpenters. I absolutely adore this version of Please Mr. Postman, and I love the video as well. It actually makes me really sad to watch it because Karen Carpenter looks as if she's having such a great time, and it would only be about 8 years later that, you know, she died with through anorexia. So yeah, I really do love this. I think it's mid-70s, but I grew up with this and this is my favourite version. Also, I do have a CD of the next song, but I can't find it. It's by Elvis Presley. It's called True Love Travels on a Gravel Road, but my favourite version of that song is by Lowe from his Impossible Bird album, and it's my favourite song off this album, and it's one of my favourite cover versions of all time. So Lowe's version of True Love Travels on a Gravel Road, and there's the man himself. Okay, this one here is as good as, if not better, and I showed this album last week. This is Katrina and the Waves, and the song in question is Going Down to Liverpool, which is a great version. I hadn't really heard this until last week, and so this may change as time goes on, but I really did enjoy it. But I still have to give the best version, the cover version, to the Bangles, Going Down to Liverpool, which is an absolutely fantastic song. So the Bangles over Katrina and the Waves. The next one may cause a little bit of uproar. Sgt Peppers Lonely Hearts Club Band and the song Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, which is okay. I think it's a little bit overrated. I think it's a little bit unfinished in this. I think, you know, they could have done a little bit more, but somebody else did do a little bit more, added a little bit onto the end, slowed it down, and I think made a better song out of it. And that's Elton John. Yeah, I do prefer Elton John's version from 1974. I just think it's a fantastic version. It's extended, and the Lucy, La La Lucy bit at the end, I think really makes the song. Okay, a couple more. The Rolling Stones, Aftermath, and a song on this called I Am Waiting. It's a good song. It's not top notch on this album. It's lower tier for me on this album. This album I always think has got some really brilliant songs, some okay, and some really rubbish songs. But I Am Waiting from Aftermath in 1966, and the best version of that came in 2005 or 2006, and that's by Lindsey Buckingham, and he completely transforms the song. Absolutely brilliant version, and he really makes it. So Lindsey Buckingham, I Am Waiting. Now this is probably my youth that makes me change this, but I prefer Smokey Robinson and the Miracles. I second that emotion, and if you're somebody from around my age, you know what I am going to show next. So it's a good song. Smokey Robinson's voice sort of annoys me a little bit. It's maybe a little bit too high and sickly sweet, but it's still an excellent song. But for me, the version of that is by Japan, which was a hit single here in the UK in 1982. And lastly, I'm going to show, this one was shown by David Newton, the song, but I'm going to pick a different cover version of it. This is U2's Achtung Baby and the song One, which is again one of their best songs, but for me the definitive version of that is by Johnny Cash on his third American Recordings album. It's absolutely magnificent, and I will add as well, I can also take Neil Diamond's Solitary Man and put it in and say that the version on this is better than the Neil Diamond one as well. Okay, so that's my picks for cover versions which are better than the originals. I hope you enjoyed that. It's just a quick video, and I hope to have another one quite soon. All the best now. Bye bye.